Forgive me for the background noises that y'all hear in this tutorial video. Now imagine the topic of this video. Imagine every nation having their own incognito encrypted trading systems with each other. So this type of system will route, it's like a router, like an independent router for all nations. Do bartering with your corporations directly with your caches of currencies. So your corporations and your government agencies can trade with each other and AI will connect y'all. So in a way, it's like an analogy, like every nation has their phone numbers. Every nation has their certain phone numbers. And y'all can call each other up, meaning with y'all businesses, when y'all trade with each other, when y'all do trading with each other, the system will know your anonymity number. And so you can trade with the private sector companies of your countries. You can trade with each other because the system will route y'all to your anonymity cyber account. So in other words, it's not a hegemonic asymmetric system that exists now with the SWIFT system under America's preview. And it's not attached to the Moody system, so it doesn't affect your evaluation of your currencies. So y'all keep your purchasing power equally, and like I said, the system it's like a router. So when your corporations, your private corporations, are dealing with global trade, wherever that company is located at, your accounts will be routed to their accounts directly. And so all governments will have their own anonymity account. So no other nation knows what other nations are trading, or no other nations know what other corporations are trading with each other. So it's meant to keep secret and confidential, and it's away from Moody's. So the Moody system, so they don't have a chance to devaluate your currencies, give your currencies runaway inflations. They can't parity and devaluate your currencies like the Moody system, or they can't block you with sanctions and tariffs like this, like the SWIFT system. So it's meant to keep anonymity, confidentiality between nations, corporations trading with each other, and nations, government agencies trading with each other. So if you can imagine a worldwide internet routing systems that y'all have the anonymity, y'all private sector corporations to trade with each other, and it's kept secret from the rest of the world. So corporations can have the ability to not be intruded upon. So they have the freedom to trade with whatever nation they want to trade with, or whatever corporations they want to trade with. So it's like a free trading system, cyber system, that allows nations, private sector companies, to trade with whatever company they feel like trading with without being infringed upon, like the SWIFT American system and using Moody's to devaluate and prevent nations, companies from trading with each other by imposing economical tariffs or sanctions. So with this type of global system for the global South and Western Europe and Eastern Europe, is breaking the hegemony of the world reserve currency as American hegemonic dominated world order of financing. So now every country on earth, their private sectors can trade freely without being infringed on with any other businesses throughout the world. And their trading is kept confidential. And they have the freedom to trade with whatever businesses they want to do trading with when it comes to commerce globally. So the system, when a company wants to trade and do business with another company abroad or throughout any other country on earth, the company has a router system that they can an analogy is like a phone number. You know how you can call any cell phone throughout the world with a unique number? Well, companies will have their own routing number, and that number will be kept confidential. And so a private sector company can trade with whatever company they want to do business with globally without being infringed upon, without being sanctioned by America's SWIFT system or embargoed by America's SWIFT system and the Moody system to devaluate and cripple your businesses and your currencies. So in order to bypass the America hegemonic world currency as the world's sole superpower reserve currency that enslaves the rest of the world, in order to bypass this hegemonic currency, now every nation, private sector companies are free to do free commerce globally without being infringed upon by any political system. So now the private sector companies can trade with each other as they feel fit without infringement by the political system of any nation imposing sanctions or tariffs. Because you have now confidential encrypted routing numbers that allows corporations globally to trade with whatever corporations they want to do business globally with, and is kept confidential between those business partners of their trade. So it's an encrypted account that corporations can trade freely without being infringed upon by politicians or governments. As far as America uses the hegemonic currency to impose embargoes on nations, to impose sanctions on businesses, to use Moody to devaluate your country's currency, to runaway inflation, all that hegemonic nonsense of America's greenbacks on the world stage is coming to an end. So this is not centrally managed. In other words, no country can control this system. It allows anonymity between corporations throughout the world doing business with themselves, or governments, agencies throughout the world doing businesses with themselves. It's a incognito system that every nation's private sector companies have their own routing numbers, and it's kept confidential. Anonymity. Nobody can supervise or dictate what businesses do business or are allowed to do businesses with other businesses. The anonymity would allow free commerce to flourish globally for the private sector companies throughout the world. So as an analogy, imagine every nation has their own routing number, or may I say like an analogy, a phone number. You know how you can dial a phone number to somebody on the other side of the world with a simple phone number? Well, this routing number allows companies to trade with each other free from infringements of sanction, embargoes, and tariffs. So if any nation wants to do sanctions, embargoes, and tariffs of nation leaders on the private sector companies, now this system will protect y'all from it. And this will be a global system of anonymity cyber accounts, routing numbers that are all kept confidential for all the participants to flourish economically without being infringed upon, whether it be in the private sector or government agencies trading with foreign nations as far as government contracts between nations. So now, let's say government agencies want to do trading freely without no embargoes, without no tariffs, without no sanctions with other nations. To bypass this American hegemonic currency, now nations and their agencies can trade with each other freely and confidential and kept secret with their own account routing numbers. So now they no nation can tariff another nation or impose sanctions or embargoes, economically speaking. Or they can't devaluate nations' currencies like America SWIFT connected to the Moody's system, which is all controlled by Western powers. So now nations, when it comes to your purchasing power of your currencies, now every nation has the equal purchasing power when it comes to their currencies and doing trading globally. So y'all pay what's the fair market going rate for whatever commodity products. All your currencies of all nations have equal purchasing power. Your currencies can be devaluated. Y'all can be sanctioned in order to give you runaway inflation of your currencies. Now, every nation, when you buying things in the open market globally, all your currencies will have equal purchasing power. So y'all pay the going rate of whatever commodity goods because your currencies will be valued equally as equal purchasing power globally. So this type of system, like I said, is meant to keep anonymity between the private sector companies trading with each other globally. Now y'all have your own private encrypted channels, routing channels, whatever companies you want to do business with globally, you're free to do business 100% without no encroachment by politicians or foreign governments or even domestic governments. As a business, now you have the right to do free commerce as you feel fit as a corporation globally. No more would you be suppressed by politicians and embargoed economically or sanctioned or tariffed as a business. So every nation, businesses throughout the world has anonymity to trade freely in global commerce. See, this is the system I'm inventing for the world, for all nations on earth, to have equal purchasing power with your sovereign currencies and to have the right to do business with whatever business you want to feel fit to do business with and to flourish globally as free commerce. And see, this is me breaking the shackles off the hegemonic world reserve currency. Because you gotta understand, America, after Bretton Woods, they created the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, the Bank of Settlements, the SWIFT system, the Moody system. And America leveraged it as a weapon on the rest of the world with their world reserve currency, floating gasoline, forcing every nation to have their reserves as their currencies of the greenback. So to break the hegemonic currency off the world, to liberate the world, and every company in it, and every government agencies throughout the world to liberate y'all, this is the systems I came up with. So now, like I said, it will be possible for every corporation on earth to trade free commerce the way they feel fit without being monitored or suppressed with sanctions, tariffs, or embargoes. So now companies are liberated globally to do commerce as they feel fit and to trade with each other globally without being sanctioned, tariffed, or embargoed by acting nations, heads of states of nations. Now y'all businesses are free to flourish as y'all feel fit to trade with each other as commerce, as global corporations trading with each other. So that's one aspect of anonymity and free commerce trading of the new world economic system. As far as government agencies, yes, your currencies are sovereignly equal. All nations' currencies on earth are equal purchasing parity. No more can you devaluate currencies by Moody's devaluating your currencies like America controls Moody's, so they use it to devaluate the third world currencies and give you runaway inflation. When you connect that to the SWIFT system, they start to cripple a nation's economy. So America controlled all this Western American-led Bretton Woods Accords that they created, the WTO, the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of Settlements, the World Bank, the SWIFT system, the Moody system, the SWIFT system. So since America controlled all of that with their hegemonic currency, I'm breaking the shackles for the rest of the world to liberate themselves economically as an economical theologian. So now, all nations with this new anonymity, with this, forget about the background noise, that's my dog. I apologize. But with this new economical system, now nations can trade with each other without fear of oppression, with embargo, sanctions, or tariffs. And all your nations' currencies globally will be equal purchasing parity, power. So it will be against the law for any nation to devaluate any other nation's currencies. The norms of this law that I am and the system that I'm creating would allow every nation's sovereign currencies to be respected equally across the table globally. When y'all do trading with other nations, y'all currencies will be considered equal, purchasing parity. I'm gonna do away with Moody's or the SWIFT system. I'm gonna do away with all of that. So now, when nations trade globally with each other, as far as currencies, the sovereign currencies, y'all all will be considered equal in the table of commerce, as far as equal purchasing parity. No more would the ability to devaluate nations' currencies, to give nations runaway inflation with their currencies, that's going to be outlawed in global commerce. That's going to be outlawed. No nation can devaluate other nations' currencies and give the runaway inflation based on their purchasing parity power of their currencies. It will be illegal. It will be against international norms. So all nations' currencies, sovereign currencies, will be equally paired with each other to have the same purchasing power with the rest of the currencies on earth. So all the nations will have equal places at the table with your sovereign currencies, as far as buying commodity goods globally, paying the going rates for commodity goods with your currencies. So in other words, when any nation goes to buy anything on the open market, or businesses decide to trade in whatever currencies, those businesses can rely and be reassured that their currencies of their host nations will be considered equal purchasing power parity. So now corporations that reside in whatever governments throughout the world, and whatever currencies those government uses as sovereign currencies, now the companies can reassure that those currencies trading commodity-free commerce throughout the world will be ensured to be considered equal purchasing power. So every nation has equal purchasing power parity when it comes to their sovereign national currencies. So now corporations can rest assured globally that when they trade with each other, whatever nation they reside in, that their currencies will be respected as equal valued for payment as far as purchasing power parity. So every nation will have their nation accounts. Every nation will have their nation accounts, like zip codes, if you will, as an analogy. So every nation will have as an analogy, their zip code that belongs to their nation. And every business in that nation will have their own, as an analogy, every businesses will have their own phone numbers or routing numbers. And so when it comes to free commerce, every nation can do whatever trading they want to do. Any business can do whatever business they want to do with any businesses throughout the world or any country throughout the world incognito. So it will be illegal to sanction businesses or embargo or tariff businesses. So now free commerce would allow any business on earth to trade with whatever country they want to do trading with confidentially. They can do trading with whatever nation they want to do trading with, or with whatever businesses throughout the world they want to trade with. So every business on earth will have full access to free commerce as they feel fit when it comes to their trading partners. And it will all be kept incognito and confidential to the businesses pertaining to their account books. In other words, the only one that will have access to their account books is their government taxing systems. But like I said, all the governments adhering to this type of new economic systems must give total immunity to their businesses to do free commerce with whatever nation businesses they want to do free commerce with. So the nations have to adhere, the nation leaders, the governments of nations have to adhere to that. They can't infringe on their business private sectors when it comes to global commerce. The seat of governments of nations have to respect the immunity of their businesses to do business as they feel fit, as the businesses feel fit. So, in other words, the government bureaucracies cannot impose and stop businesses from trading with each other in this free commerce system. It will be outlawed and prevented from politicians of any government to infringe upon any business, whether it be domestic or foreign, to infringe on free commerce. So globally, the governments and their bureaucracies cannot impose or impede private sector companies from trading with whoever they feel fit they want to do business with as private sector companies, whether it be domestically or globally. So companies, in order to provide a flourishing free commerce for all businesses globally, they have to have anonymity to do trading with whatever businesses throughout the world or domestically they feel like doing business with as free commerce. So that's one of the good perks of this system, is that it allows every private sector companies to do trading domestically with any company they want to do business with or globally without any government having the ability to infringe upon your free commerce. When it comes to governments, agencies trading with government contracts, either with private sector companies or with other governments, they also have anonymity in their government contracts to trade with whatever private sector businesses they want to do trading with as government heads of governments, sovereign governments. With their government contracts, they have the anonymity of confidentiality to do trading with whatever private companies they want to do trading with or with whatever other foreign governments they want to do trading with. So now, no government can infringe upon another government trading abilities. So no government can impose tariffs and sanctions and embargoes on any other government. So the system would allow for government contracts and government heads of governments, or the government, the heads of the seat of government, when it comes to their government trading or their government contracts, now they have the anonymity to trade confidentiality with any business throughout whatever nation on earth. As government contracts, they have the anonymity and the sovereignty to trade with whatever businesses globally they want to do trading with, or with whatever other foreign governments they want to do trading with, without being infringed upon. So now this would allow nations to have unrestricted access to the system. So now, as leaders and heads of state, they can afford to keep their national economies and their peoples governed without no sanctions, tariffs, or embargoes, or runaway inflation through their currencies like Moody's under the SWIFT system. So to do away with that hegemonic enslavement of the greenback, now nations, their sovereign currencies are equal purchasing parity. So every nation's current sovereign currencies will have equal purchasing power parity. That's the base rule, that every nation's currencies are considered equal when it comes to purchasing power. So for nations, heads of states, to provide their economies flourishment and to keep their economies flourishing, now nations, with their government contracts, they're free to do trading with their contracts with any private sector company throughout any nation on earth. And that's kept confidential and encrypted with this central system of global commerce that I'm explaining. This blockchain system that's controlled globally with independent anonymity between private sector companies and also between government accounts economical accounts, where government contracts. So now the seat of governments globally can have equal purchasing power parity with their sovereign currencies and pay the going rate for commodity goods globally. And now every government has the ability to bypass any sanctions, embargoes, or tariffs. They can now, as government agencies, do free trading with whatever private companies throughout the world they feel fit to do trading with, or with whatever foreign governments they feel fit to do business with, between heads of states or the seats of governments. Now it will be illegal for any central system to impede any nation's currencies or to impede any nation's ability to trade with other nations when it comes to heads of governments, whether it be in the private sector or in the government sector. So this type of system will be a central blockchain and amenity system that would allow free commerce to flourish, that would allow nations to be free from embargoes and tariffs and sanctions, and that would allow private sector companies to have pure and free, unfettered access to free commerce. And so this is the systems, economic systems of tomorrow that I'm phasing in the new global financial order of blockchains. So this is basically a system that every private sector company will have their own routing numbers. Every government will have their own zip code, if you will, as an analogy. And in this fashion, your businesses have access to unfettered free commerce without no worry about inferior currencies, without no worry about sanctions, tariffs, and embargoes, whether it be in the private sector companies or in the government sector agencies. So this is the way we get rid of the hegemonic enslavement greenback. Because America, after after Bretton Woods, America designed the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of Settlements, the SWIFT system, the World Bank, the Moody's systems, and America leverages it as an economical weapon to keep the rest of the world enslaved to the American currency. And America wants to float the gasoline to keep everybody enslaved to gasoline to prop up the American petrodollar. And America uses this economical system that they set up after Bretton Woods to dominate the world with impunity when it comes to commerce. So to break the shackles of every corporation on earth, to break the enslavement shackles of every corporation on earth, to break the shackles of enslavement to every nation on earth economically, this is the system that I have invented as the economical theologian. To free not only the private sector companies globally, but also the government's sovereign ability to trade globally. So I'm your liberators. I'm your freedom fighters as an economical theologian and a political science theologian. You gotta watch my other videos, like my United Nations grant initiatives that I am the architect of that. The United Nations grant initiatives that I want to pass within the Assembly floor of the United Nations. So study that video, the United Nations grant program that I am the architect of on my YouTube channel. You'll find it titled United Nations Grants. And also for America, I want to reform the American government to be a better, freer society, more democratic, equally representing our citizens with value. So I have, as an economical theologian, work on initiatives for everybody to have access to Social Security when they retire or have disabilities, also have free access to universal health care. So, and then also revolutionizing the three branches of government as a political science and economical theologian. So these are just my initiatives that I want to phase in globally, because I am the front fighter as an activist to make the world a better place, a freer, more prosperous, more eco-representative, as a freedom fighter, as a diplomat, as an economical theologian, a political science theologian. I'm trying to evolve the world into a better distributed systems. So when I leave this planet, when I die, I leave the world better off. I did my part in society to leave my mark and my contributions to the arts of humanity. And I hope that I have left the world better off when I leave this life. Humanity will remember me at least for what I contribute to society for the greater good of all. And now I'm coming up with my last, to conclude this tutorial. I want to eliminate taxation globally. I want to eliminate taxation for governments and taxation for citizens of the globe and corporations globally. So imagine living in a society free of taxation. So businesses, y'all get zero taxation. Employees, y'all get zero taxation. Governments, y'all not obliged to tax your citizens in order to pay for your government programs. So how would this work, you will say? How would this work? Well, it will be outlawed for private citizens throughout the world to get taxed when they get paid their checks, their employment checks. They earn their payments with zero taxation. The corporations, they get to do business with zero taxation. They get zero taxation. So how would you say, well, how would the government provide for their infrastructures and their social programs like healthcare and retirement pensions? Because now the governments don't have to pay taxation to provide these services of healthcare, infrastructure, and retirement pensions. So the government has control to their sovereign bank, their central bank. And now they can print money free of debt to provide infrastructures, highways, bridges, roads, and emergency response like fire departments, police departments, and free universal health care and retirement pension services. Like in America, we have Social Security. So now the governments are allowed to provide these services to their citizens for free without the government being indebted for it. In other words, without the government being on the hook for it. And every nation has equal purchasing power parity to their currencies. But now, in this new system, this new world order of economic system, now every laborer throughout the world can labor and receive 100% of their income with zero taxation. Now businesses are freed up in free commerce under this system to do free commerce with whatever business throughout the world or domestically. They have the right to do businesses, unfettered business with whatever private sector companies they feel like doing business with. And now the businesses get zero taxation. So they get to keep 100% of their earnings for corporations and businesses, business owners. Now they get to keep 100% of their gross earnings. And so the laborers throughout the world, y'all keep 100% of your paychecks without it being garnished with taxation. And now the governments, since y'all control the central bank of your currencies, now y'all can print free of debt money to build the infrastructures in your nations domestically. Now the governments, through all governments, will have the ability, since they control their sovereign currencies of their nations, now they will have the abilities, their central banks, to print money free of debt to build their roads, their highways, their bridges, their hospitals, their first responders, fire departments, police departments. And now the governments and the politicians of the heads in the seats of governments of every nation has the ability and freedom to print currency free of debt of their central bank to provide the basic necessities for their citizens, which is infrastructure, healthcare, first responders, emergency responders, and retirement pensions for their citizens. Now the government throughout the world can provide these services for free without the government being indebted or tax being held on a tax hook. So now governments are free to control their sovereign central banks to print money debt free to provide their citizens with their basic resources that is obliged by the government to provide, meaning highways, bridges, roads, infrastructures, hospitals, fire departments, police departments, universal health care, and retirement government programs, pension programs for their citizens. So this is the new world economic system that I'm rectifying to make the world a better place, to make society a flourishing place. It's totally different from what exists now with the petro-hegemonic dollar of America enslaving the rest of the world and deriving stock exchange through Wall Street and enslaving the world with impunity with their well-reserved hegemonic currency, enslaving the rest of the world to be shackled to the Treasury Department of Washington, the way the world order economic system exists today. So I'm breaking the shackles and unenslaving and liberating humanity and governments throughout the world. I'm your freedom fighter. I'm the one that's the architect of this movement, the theologian of this movement, the revolutionist architect, theologian of this movement, whether it be diplomacy, political science, or whether it be economical theology. So now this system is going to allow free commerce to blossom. It's going to allow people, when they labor, they get to keep their earnings without no fear of oppression of taxation. And now governments will have the sovereign ability to control, free of debt, their obligations to their citizens by providing good infrastructure, highways, bridges, roads, emergency responders, police departments, fire departments, universal health care, and retiree pension plans for their citizens throughout the world. Every country, heads of state, can now provide these services free of debt, so governments don't incur federal deficits. They have the ability to provide for their citizens. The governments throughout the world will now be able to provide for the citizens. See, this system is not trickle down greenback pyramid scheme dollars of America's Federal Reserve on the rest of the world, enslaving the rest of the world. This system, I'm breaking the shackles of enslavement to the rest of the world. I'm liberating the world. I'm leaving the world better off than when I came into it, when I was born. I'm the freedom fighter that's liberating the world and evolving the world into a better prosperity, a better democratic systems, and better prosperity for the rest of humanity on earth. I'm breaking the shackles of this mighty greenback dollar of enslavement of the all-seeing eye, imposing their currency and enslaving the rest of the world with their pyramid schemes or Ponzi schemes of the Treasury Department. After Bretton Woods, the system that America has set up to this very day is trickle-down economics. And I'm done with that trickle-down economics for the rest of the world. I'm done with that. So I'm breaking the shackles of enslavement of that mighty greenback Ponzi scheme dollar that Washington, to the Treasury Department, likes to keep the rest of the world enslaved to trickle-down economics while the third world starves in poverty. I'm abolishing that enslavement. I'm snapping the shackles of enslavement on the rest of the world and all nations on earth. So, this system, to conclude, that I'm the architect of would allow free commerce to flourish in the private sector. Now you don't have to worry about paying taxes. You get to keep your gross and net earnings 100% for businesses throughout the world. Labor forces throughout the world, employees of all nations, now y'all get to keep 100% of y'all earnings without worrying about taxation. Y'all get zero taxations on your paychecks. And now, also, the nations on earth, y'all control your sovereign equal purchasing power parity globally. All nations' currencies are equal purchasing power. And the heads of states, the governments, the seat of governments of nations, the sovereign nations, now y'all can provide your basic necessities to your citizens globally within your nations. Y'all have the right to print currency free of debt, to build highways, bridges, infrastructure, free of debt as government in the seat of governments. So now y'all can provide and ensure that every country on earth, y'all can provide y'all citizens with a better society. And y'all don't have to worry about, as seat of governments or bureaucracies, now y'all don't have to worry about being on a tax hook with Moody's and SWIFT and the trickle-down economics of this petrodollar, all-seeing pyramid scheme of America's mighty greenback dollar. This is no longer trickle-down economics for the rest of the world. This is free commerce for the rest of the world. This is prosperity for the rest of the world. So, under this new system, to conclude, governments, now y'all control the printing of your currencies, which every nation has the equal purchasing power parity. When y'all use trading with your currencies globally, every nation have equal purchasing power with your currencies. And now the nations are freed up, free of debt, to print their currencies, free of debt, to provide the government necessities. Infrastructure, first emergency responders, free universal health care, and pension plans, retiree plans for your citizens throughout your nations, throughout all nations on earth. So you start to see that it is a better distribution of wealth of nations. It's a better theory of morality. I study Adam Smith, so I'm doing my own version of the wealth of nations and the theory of morality when it comes to commerce and a better society for all to prosper as humankind when it comes to free commerce.